This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 488.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. One WordCamp, actually two events, if you hear this in time. Anyway, first and foremost, the WordCamp in the Philippines, the city of Iloilo, is coming up July 8th. It's a one-day camp, so that's pretty cool. Also, if you hear this on the episode of the day it drops, which is July 3rd, I'm actually hosting a virtual co-working Zoom call on the 5th and the 19th. If you are part of the adamsilver.com newsletter, you might have gotten that already. If you didn't get that in your inbox this past Saturday, let me know. DM me and I can send you the invite as well. So it's going to be 45 minutes of some virtual co-working. So there's that. All right. That's it for the upcoming events. In the news, segment one, Stitcher is closing down their podcasting platform, their premium service, apparently on August 29th. So if you listen to any podcast, including this one, through Stitcher, you no longer will be able to do that as of the 29th of August. They don't say why they're doing it. They're just doing it. So, and lastly in the news, WordPress 6.3 Beta 2 is ready for downloading. This is the first release of the 6.3 cycle. There was no Beta 1 due to a technical issue with that release. So they went ahead and just pushed out Beta 2. So I think that's that. Yeah, so that is that in the news. Next up is the meat and potatoes of the episode. But first, actually, a word from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is breadandbutter.io. Now, if you're looking to increase engagement and reduce user attrition, you got to check out the service. Now, what does breadandbutter.io do? Well, they help small businesses like mine, like yours, using WordPress to convert to more visitors into customers. How do they do that, you ask? Well, they reduce the friction in your sign-up or sign-on process and future-proof your website with a first-party data strategy. A few of the major features are single sign-on authentication, also known as SSO. They offer content gating, lead capture, and universal newsletter sign-up. Now, Bread and Butter integrates seamlessly with other tools you already use, Zapier, Slack, Google Analytics, and my favorite CRM, of course, Pipedrive. Now, they also help businesses using WordPress convert more visitors to customers. It's really simple. They offer a full white glove service, 24/7 support. Bread and Butter.io is really impressive. And the prices start at free. Yes, free. And I smile when I say this because you have nothing to lose in trying this out. So head over to breadandbutter.io, sign up today, and thanks again to them for sponsoring this week's episode. All right, moving on to the segment itself, meat potatoes. This week is the edge case. So how do I word this? Recently, my agency came across something it never had to deal with, what I'm calling the edge case. The backstory here is a few months back, we designed and built a brand new site for a client. We took the site live, we moved it to managed service and hosting, all was good. We got paid, I got paid, my team got paid, etc. Then a couple weeks go by. It turns out, no, actually not a couple weeks, about a week. It turns out they can't see the site. I get an email saying, hey, when is the site going live? And we were like, what? It's been live since our last email, since it went live that day. And I sent an invoice and etc. It's kind of weird that they waited a full week and a half or so. Turns out they couldn't see the site, whereas the rest of the world could see the site. Literally the rest of the world. I had people from all over the world check, and it was working just fine. So diving in and some investigating showed that the issue was on their end, as when they're on their network at the office, things weren't there. Some things were coming through, but not all. If you're on an external network, it was fine. So then they went quiet. And all good, right? I'm thinking, okay, they figured it out. Well, of course not, because otherwise this episode would be over, and it's not the case. So they reached out again, this time to their outsourced IT department, and that company figured out, since the domain was company.com, for example, it would work better if it had the www in it. It's like, so www.domain.com or company.com, and that would solve their internal network issue. So then they opened a ticket with us, asked for the change, and we made that since I'm hosting the site on managed services. And after a few hours of propagation, the site was once again live, fine for the world. Again, I tested it from friends and colleagues across the country and the world, and it should be fine. Another week goes by, and another ticket request, indicating this time some, but not all images were broken, not coming up. The header, some icons, things weren't kind of working 100%. So what's the edge case here? Well, turns out they are running an internal network, 10.10.10.x. They're using Active Directory, and the URLs aren't resolving as they would for the world because of this internal network setup is a bit murky. And I did talk to a good colleague of mine, a good friend who was in that networking space and setting up networks for companies, and explained to me that it was set up technically incorrectly, but made sense for whoever set it up, but not in our case. And since that was the case, images and some of the media and URLs that were uploaded prior to the changing of the domain as a primary, www versus non-www, they were coded, and WordPress sometimes won't replace those URLs when you do a URL swap. So with that, it's a lot, I know. Whew. Here are 3 ways you can recognize, learn from, and handle edge case scenarios without losing valuable time or money. This is what we're doing now moving forward. Kind of, just 3 quick things here. First and foremost, obviously, number 1, conduct thorough requirements and gather the documentation. You need to have clear and detailed requirements regarding someone's network to avoid misunderstandings. Take the time, document the specifications, functionalities, the project details in regards to a network situation here. Okay, number 2, establish clear guidelines and protocols. It's an SOP. That's all it is, right? So yes, we conduct the requirements of number 1. We now add this to our SOP number 2. That way, no unexpected situations will come up again in the future. And number 3, maintain open lines of communication with the client. It was kind of awkward and weird how this kind of came to be. I think they were trying to place blame on my agency for this as an issue, but it really isn't. It's blameless. There's no one to blame here. Things were set up. We were unaware of something, and this happened. So, of course, the key here is maintain open lines of communication with the clients, because effective communication is crucial to make the edge case be resolved successfully. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. So the takeaway, oddly enough, is we just need to move forward from this project. Ask from now on if they're using an internal network, which I've never had to ask anyone in the past 14 years of WordPress or 7 years running the agency. But that's the takeaway. Conduct a thorough requirement, add the requirements to your SOP, and maintain open lines of communications. It was a heck of a couple weeks now, I'm just going to say. So that being said, anyone else out there have some edge cases you want to share? By all means, let me know and we'll talk about it. So, all right. Hope that helps you in the future. Really do, because that's the key. We really do all need to learn from each other and share what we know. All right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip, it's a website called calendar.link. It's spelled CALNDR.link. It's a simple and easy way to generate calendar links. It's free. It's interesting how it works, but if you want to add a link to someone's calendar without having to go through a process or pay a service to do it, this is a free version to do it. CALNDR.link. My friend Renee recommended it, so check that out as well if you're looking for something like that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. You want to support the show, become a Patreon. That's great, KitchensinkWP.com/Patreon. You can sponsor the show. That's a form on the website. And speaking of sponsoring, thanks once again to breadandbutter.io for being this week's sponsor. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right? Bye-bye.